Hello and welcome to SaaS Marketing Insights, the show where we ask SaaS founders, CEOs, marketers, and investors about the lessons they've learned in their quest to grow their companies. My name is Paul Stevenson, and I'm founder and CEO of SaaS marketing agency 47 Insights. On today's show, I have an interview with conversion copywriter Patti Haus. Hope you enjoy it. Patti Haus, conversion copywriter extraordinaire. Welcome to SaaS Marketing Insights.
Thank you so much for having me, Paul. I'm really excited to be here.
Cool. So start off by telling me where you're based, because you say, we were just talking now and you said you work mostly from home, as a lot of fine folks do these days. So where is home for you?
So I'm in Saskatchewan, Canada, right in the middle of the bald prairies, where it's, we have a joke here that says, if your dog runs away, you can see him for 3 days. That's kind of,
Cool. So tell me how you first got into copywriting and what we now know as a whole subcategory of conversion copywriting. So, where does this journey start from you? What's your background?
Well, I've always been interested in writing. I have an English degree, actually. And when I worked corporate, which I did for a long time, I worked for in the engineering field, not an engineer. I'm a writer. So I worked in engineering, and a lot of what I did was writing copy, not conversion copy, but I was writing like web copy and a lot of emails. And I really enjoyed it. And when I thought about starting my own business, it seemed like a natural progression to just kind of go into SaaS, because I worked with a lot of, software engineers, and try to do something that's more science-based, which is what conversion copywriting is. It's not like creative copywriting where you sit down and you craft out a story or something. Conversion copywriting is really like a mixture of science, psychology, and creative writing that uses, data and, analytics to get results for clients. So it seemed like a natural progression to kind of go from working in engineering to working with SaaS companies.
So, I guess, if you're used to working in a technical environment and, copywriting for a technical environment, it would be a very natural progression. So
absolutely, yeah.
Tell me about the range of things that you might write for a typical SaaS or tech business, because obviously words are words, but you can apply them in lots of different ways. But I guess after you've been going a while, it becomes apparent that what people really want is X, Y, and Z, say, for example.
Right. So I think I have two zones of genius that work really well together. The first is that as I mentioned to you, that I work from home, so I love talking to people. I miss having the camaraderie of working with people. So I actually am really good at doing like voice of customer research. So I use that. That involves like customer interviews and surveys and a lot of data mining. And I use that voice of customer research to write really good emails and landing pages. Those are kind of what I work mostly on. So like onboarding emails and, landing pages that lead to an email funnel, that kind of thing.
Cool. So the process always starts with research, I guess. Do you want to sort of step us through what a typical engagement would look like? So, I'm a SaaS founder. I've got a product. I know I can't write for toffee. Persuade anyone to buy it. It's a great product, by the way.
Yep,
they're always great products. How could you help me?
So the most important thing to remember is that people are never buying your product. They don't actually care about your product. And I'm not saying that to hurt anybody's feelings at all, but in reality, we don't care about the products. We care about the product, how it's going to help make our lives better. So I want to figure out, before I even write any words at all, I want to figure out what is leading customers to your product and what it is they're looking to get out of it. So I look for things like I do voice of customer research, so interviews. I do a lot of interviews, and I'm asking people things like, what was going on in your life when you decided to look for a product like this one? So, it's like you're buying a lawnmower. Well, what's leading you to buy a lawnmower, and of course products, like physical products, are different than SaaS products. But, if you're looking for a product, like, what is leading you to that? So you're looking for a lawnmower. Did you just buy a new house and you've never had a lawnmower, or did your lawnmower break? And, what are you looking for out of it? Are you looking for, are you trying not to piss off the HOA, so you don't want to have a shaggy lawn? Or do you have, kids and you want to have a nice space in the backyard for them? So really trying to figure out that, and what are the benefits of your product? So if you have a SaaS product, do you know exactly why people really want it? A lot of times founders don't. So they've created this product, but they're not often kind of the ideal user of it. So we're trying to really get in the mind of what's going on in that person's life, and how are we going to be able to help them, see that our solution is, or our product is the solution for them.
So starting with voice of the customer research, typically how long or how many customers would you have to speak to gain an idea of what's going on in that business?
Well, it depends. So say you have a SaaS product that has an enterprise solution for large companies, and then it's got a solution for smaller companies. You would need to do more interviews than you would if you have a single stream of people. But typically anywhere from 5 to 15 is kind of typical. And then we usually do a survey. So it might be like an exit survey if we have a really small survey, or if they have a large list, we might do an email survey. Because not everybody, you can't talk to 300 or 5,000 people, right? So it's really about sort of quantity of information, but also quality, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So you get the best of both worlds. You get some quantitative data from the survey, and then you get some very qualitative information that comes from the individual customer research.
Exactly.
Great. So, again, it's difficult, but I'm putting myself in the position of a SaaS founder here.
Absolutely.
If I was to engage with somebody like you, what sort of duration would that initial research process take for you to get organized?
It generally lasts between 3 and 4 weeks just for the research phase. And sometimes that's all people want. People want somebody like me to go in and do just a really in-depth research to find out, not only why people are using the product, but also kind of what are they looking for, and that sometimes helps founders for, subsequent versions of that product. And so that usually takes 3 to 4 weeks. And then before I ever go on to the next phase, if they want me to write the copy, we go through it all to make sure that they agree with it. Right. I mean, we don't want to write all this copy and then have them say, oh, you know what, I don't buy into what these people are saying. I think that they're an anomaly or whatever. So we want to make sure that I'm seeing the same thing that the company's seeing, really.
Yeah. So what sort of size of SaaS business would you typically work with? Because obviously, like bootstrap founders, notoriously penny pinching. What's a good starting point for you?
Well, it really depends, because sometimes people they do see the importance of good copy, so they do come if they're just ready to really start their first initial scaling. They might come and say, I need to invest, $5,000 say, and they're gonna get kind of some at least a really great onboarding sequence or something. Other times, they've gone through some funding, so they've gotten some investment, and then they're ready to scale because they do have that money to invest. So it really kind of depends on, if they want like the full meal deal, if they want like everything, they want really intense research, and they want sales pages, and they want multiple emails, and it kind of depends on what they're looking for.
Yeah. And how involved do you get in terms of measuring the results of what you do for people? Because obviously, like, they're going to take your copy, they're going to put it on their website, or they're going to put it in their drip sequence. How do you get the feedback on what's working and what isn't?
So I'm always looking for feedback, because my best source of customers is referrals. So I'm not happy unless they're happy. So I'm pretty involved. I don't actually do the testing, but they bring me the results, and then we see if we have to change something. So say they've done an onboarding email, and they're finding that a bunch of people are dropping off after email number 7. We could look at that and see what's going on, or maybe their open rates have gone way down. We would definitely look at that and maybe do some split testing or something like that, just to make sure that they're getting the kind of results that they paid for.
Great. So you must see an awful lot of common mistakes being made over and over again by SaaS businesses. I'm sure you do. What are your favorite ones, if I can call them favorites?
I have multiple, I have to say. So I think the first thing is if they don't know their ideal customer. So they're either going and they're looking at their competitors' web copy or sales copy or emails, and they're kind of, making it fit themselves. That doesn't work almost always, because it's rare that our best customers are the same as our competitors, and we have no way of knowing if they are or not. So they haven't done the research, and they don't know what really matters. I think that's the biggest thing, is that people don't understand the importance, if they want to have high conversions, that they really know what's going on in the life of that prospect. Another thing is they're writing boring copy. And I think this is almost an epidemic, to be honest with you, especially in the B2B space, because we think that we have to be, like proper, in the B2B space. We think we're writing for corporations or business owners, and they're proper, so we have to be proper. And I'm not saying you shouldn't be proper, but I don't think you should be boring, because nobody wants to read boring copy. They really don't. And I think that you can do really effective copy that's also interesting. I think it's possible. You might have to work a little bit harder, but I think that that's how you're going to convince people to keep reading. Our readers, on average, you have 4 seconds to convince them to keep reading. That's not very much time. So if you're writing an email or a sales page, you need to have a great hook. You need to know, this is again where that voice of customer research comes into play. You need to know what you can write that will convince them to keep reading. Because that's really, at the very beginning, that's your goal, is to get people to keep reading. Yeah. Goal of the first paragraph is to get people to read to the second paragraph. And you keep going until you get to the call to action, when that's your goal, right? Is to hit that call to action button. So I think that boring copy is you can make it interesting. You can use some pop culture, you can use knowledge of your prospects and write something that's so compelling that they're like, wow, this company gets me. I'm going to keep reading. Because you're not really writing for a corporation. You're writing for a person, right? It's a person reading it, not a company.
Yeah. But I guess to some degree that can be difficult, because surely, rightly or wrongly, you want to reflect the brand personality of the business that you're writing for. So, a lot of it is dull, because there's a lot of very safe B2B enterprise brands out there who see themselves as, selling to corporates, and, they don't really want to put anything in their copy that could be controversial or interesting at all. I just wonder how you as a copywriter deal with that, because you must get pushback about stuff you write all the time.
Of course, because I think sometimes we think that we're writing for the guys in the C-suite, but we're actually writing for the people who are reading it. So I think sometimes it's just a matter of educating the people on the other end. And I'm not saying that you should use, anything controversial, but I think you can still be interesting. And if nothing else, show that person, like write for that one person who is reading your sales page or your emails, and not for the big, the corporate guys, the corporate, the suits in the C-suite, especially if you don't write for the guys in the C-suite of your company, because they're definitely not your ideal customer. But know what matters to them, and know, how they talk, right? You should write in a way that, speaks to the way that they're talking. So the phrases they're using, if they're using any, abbreviations. The worst thing you can do, to be honest with you, is write these really jargon-filled sales pages and emails that, sound like somebody, a lawyer wrote them, because that's boring as hell. So I think really, I think it always comes back to knowing your prospect, knowing how they talk and what they care about, and then using that always.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Just going back to writing onboarding sequences, because this always interests me. I've read quite a bit about onboarding sequences and seem to get different advice, conflicting advice. What's your view on what well, I won't say standard, but what an ideal or best practice onboarding sequence should look like in terms of the number of emails and the timing, and maybe some thoughts on content?
Well, I will say that there is no real set amount. So it really depends on the stage of awareness that your prospect is in before they ever get to your sales page. And then, say they've opted into something, a freebie that's gonna, or try, let's say they've opted into a trial use of your product. It really depends on the stage of awareness they are, because if they are almost ready to buy, you could really, remind them of the benefits of your product, and you could remind them of the features, because once they get close to the buy button, they're going to check to make sure that it has the features that they want. And you could have a very few emails. But if they say you're coming from cold traffic, a Google search or a Facebook ad or something, and they are completely unaware of your product, of your company, you've got to build trust. You have to show them why your product can help them solve that problem that led them to you. So there's no like hard and fast rule about it. But I think I would err on the side of more emails than less emails, which is completely the opposite of what every single one of my clients wants. They always want fewer emails. They feel like they're tired of getting too many emails. So that's got to be the way that their prospects feel. So they would usually rather have fewer. But I think if you have more, you're probably, they say that 11 touch points is what it takes to convert somebody.
I was going to say 7 to 12 touches is what's sort of commonly bandied around, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's just the same whether you meet someone face to face or receiving an email. It takes a lot actually to earn trust and credibility over email, I think.
Yeah.
And just getting people to sign up, to actually convince them that there's some value in actually giving their email address is the biggest battle of all, I think.
Well, that's right. And if we think about it as a freebie, but really there's an exchange going on. You're getting something from them, which is their email address, and it's almost like you're bartering, right? So I think that people should remember that it's not as easy to attain an email address as it used to be. But I think it's also remember that, just because you're sending emails doesn't mean they all have to be sales emails either, right? You should educate and inform and really lead somebody to the yes, right? We're really trying to coach the conversion almost. We're trying to coach people to understand, that they need this product, that this product is going to help them solve whatever problem it was that they were searching for a solution when they found us.
Sure. I think that's fantastic advice. So I just wanted to ask you about, you were saying that, you work from home, and, a lot of people do. I work from home half the time, and that's when I do my deep focus and my best work. So it's interesting that working from home can be a double-edged sword, though, because sometimes you don't have enough of the social aspect to be able to perform ideally. And I just wondered if you'd had any reflections on, you've been working from home for a few years. Obviously, you're on Zoom or Skype or whatever to clients all the time. You're doing customer interviews. How do you cope with that? Because I know, some friends of mine who just couldn't work from home.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because when I first started working from home, or when I started, thinking about starting this business, I thought, oh my God, that sounds like utopia. Being at home, wearing yoga pants all the time, just sounded wonderful. And then of course you get into it and it's like, oh, I don't know if this is as great as I thought it would be. I mean, there's definitely some benefits, I mean, my office is a 3-second walk from my bedroom. And I get to hang out with my puppy all day, which is, mostly awesome. But I have found that I have to have like regular meetings with, friends that I can talk to about my problems, or that I can, discuss like everything. I have copy friends that I meet regularly where we talk through, oh, this conversion isn't quite happening the way I thought it was. And they can, we can just kind of talk it through, almost like an office situation, right? Where you go to the office of your, your coworker, and you talk through problems that you're struggling with. So I think I've kind of created that. It just happens to be via Zoom.
Yeah, that's great, because it can be a very lonely experience, I think, for some people. But I think finding a way to cope with it is definitely the key to it. And whether that's like just going out and having a coffee with a friend, or chatting with somebody over Zoom, it's whatever it takes to get you out of just being in your own little bubble sometimes.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, your bubble is nice and comfortable, but I think if you really want to excel at this, I think you have to get out of your bubble. You've gotta talk to people who make you do better, right? Who make you think differently, and who help you become the best version of you that you are.
Exactly. Patti Haus, thank you very much for your time today. Really appreciated your insights into conversion copywriting. I think there's a lot that certainly that I picked up from that, and I hope the listeners and viewers did too.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed hanging out with you today.
I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Patti. For more info, please visit www.pattihaus.com. For more info about this show, and to get our links to iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and YouTube, check out www.47insights.com. And if you have any SaaS marketing insights that you'd like to share on the show, please get in touch. Until next time.